Yo, what up YouTube? What up boxing fans? Back on it. ESPN First Take. Larry Merchant on the show. This is a product of the sort of co-promotional agreement with ESPN and HBO to showcase boxing more often. And, that's good for boxing. That's going to lead to, SportsCenter actually having HBO highlights to show the next day, instead of having copyright issues with that. And it's great to see Larry Merchant on ESPN First Take, and basically he was talking about Mayweather Pacquiao because that's all they talk about on ESPN. And apparently, Larry Merchant's one of those guys who thinks it's going to happen, but in terms of why it hasn't happened yet, he gave his thoughts, and what he had to say was, both fighters are in a situation where they both make 40 to 50 million per fight. Whether Mayweather fights once a year or Pacquiao fights twice a year, both of them make 40 to 50 million dollars per fight, right? So they're in a situation where, okay, they can fight someone and give them 5 million, and that's it. Or they can fight someone and give them 3 million, and they can make 40 or 50 million, and they're happy, right? So what happens when they fight each other? What's going on with the pay split? Because both of them want to get paid, and really now Manny Pacquiao's in a situation where he has to take a pay cut to Mayweather, and he's not used to it. So that's where the conflict is. Obviously, it hasn't been like that from day one. There was that time where Pacquiao didn't want to take the blood tests, and Bob Arum had to explain for him because of the bullshit going on, and Pacquiao didn't want to talk about it, so Bob Arum had to be his sort of public relations guy, and that didn't work out at all. But overall, Larry Merchant was a pretty good guest. He gave his insight on what he thought about the matchup when asked if he could give a prediction. Basically, Larry Merchant wanted to wait until the fight actually happened, until it was announced and whatnot. But he does see Mayweather as the favorite. He doesn't think Mayweather's scared. He just thinks that, it's a thing where Mayweather is a defensive master. He goes into a fight thinking, hey, I'm not going to get hit at all. I'm going to be pretty when I walk in and pretty when I walk out, right? They used to call him the pretty boy for a reason. And to fight a guy like that frustrates the hell out of you because you can't hit him, he's hard to beat. So that's what Larry Merchant had to say. He didn't say too much else. So obviously he favors Mayweather just like most other boxing aficionados, boxing minds, so to speak. And obviously he did say he thought Pacquiao was the biggest threat to Mayweather, although some might disagree. I think Timothy Bradley's the biggest threat to Mayweather. Maybe Sergio Martinez is the biggest threat to Mayweather. But I don't think it's Pacquiao. In fact, I think a lot of people overrate this fight just because of the popularity of both fighters, when in fact this fight is a mismatch. I think Mayweather wins easily. But, this is what the media needs to talk about because these are the two biggest names in boxing, and they're within each other's weight division. So, Mayweather wants to fight. Pacquiao says he wants to fight. Hopefully it can happen, although it doesn't look like it's happening. Anyways, Larry Merchant was on ESPN First Take. It was pretty good. It's good for boxing. And for now, it is what it is, guys. Peace out. Take care.